All right, full stack. So I think we've had some pretty good conversations. I think things are going well. For this next panel, we're going to use the Slido app. How many people have used Slido so far? It's in your app. Pull it up with these directions. Check it out. You will be able to ask questions of the panelists. They will, as time permits, get to answer them. Please be patient. The more questions there are, the harder it is. How many people here have the role of CTO? Oh, cool. Y'all are going to love this. So it's interesting as things change and as every company in some way becomes a technology company, how the role of the CTO changes and what that really means kind of evolves over time. So we're going to have some folks up here to talk about this. Please welcome to the stage Rob Pegoraro of Yahoo Finance, my good friend from my hometown, Susie Wee of DevNet, she's the CTO, and the CTO of Allianz, Markus Löffler.
Good afternoon. So I've got to start this panel this way. With the tech headlines every day, there's something new about a data breach, a security vulnerability, some horrible exploit. So about how much of your time do you spend sort of quivering in fear under your desk?
So it's a very lighthearted panel that I can see.
Yeah. We're trying to look for the bright side of things.
So yeah, security and data breaches are critical, and from a CTO perspective, they're very top of mind in what we do. What's kind of interesting from, because I work at Cisco, an infrastructure company, is that we're always developing technologies that can actually help that happen. So when you're looking, our customers are very worried about security breaches and data threats, but it turns out from the network itself, you can do threat intelligence there and start to see the signals of when attacks may be occurring. And so we actually have some threat intelligence operations that can actually help foresee some of this stuff and then put some protections in from that level as well. So it's top of mind in what we're building, and those tools are really important.
Yeah, same for me. It's top of mind for an insurance company, I guess, all the time. We got health records of people. We got blueprints of nuclear power plants in our databases and all these sort of things. We got trading data, which are very interesting for a couple of attackers. It's top of mind. What is interesting is that our clients actually start asking about our security protections more and more. So that is a new thing for us.
That's a good thing. So, since we have this day in the life structure, I won't ask about breakfast, but I will ask, what do you read first? What's on your reading list each morning? And I guess, do you have coffee or tea while you're reading that?
Yeah, so, in the morning, it's really important to figure out what's happened, while you were sleeping, if you were sleeping. So, it's really important to go through, different kind of technology slides, going through different news places, just to see if there's some disruption that has happened. Sometimes I'm just going through my Twitter feed and seeing what folks are doing and what, the news is and some of the commentary around it as well. But super important.
Yeah. I spend typically the first half hour to look at what's happening with our businesses. I spent more than half of my time with our business leaders, actually. So I'm looking for news from their areas. And I spend quite some time in our intranet to look at what's happening on the social side to just, connect.
Now, this is the past few years have had a lot of rough spots for the tech industry overall. I have to imagine you would have some insights that you would want to be able to tell to the you of 5 years ago. What would that advice be?
So, I run DevNet, which is Cisco's developer community. And what we're trying to do is we have a very large community around the world of people who use our products and install and run networks and things like that. And we're trying to give them the software skills they need to deal with the big transition that's happening in their industry, which is a software-defined infrastructure. So software-defined networking, software-defined infrastructure, how do they put security into their infrastructures and add applications to them in the world of cloud and hybrid cloud and everything there. So we've actually kind of built up this net new developer community, which is changing the culture of our own company, as well as especially changing the culture of the industry. So we started this, and it was kind of a bold idea, and then we kind of had to keep the faith. We were like a startup within Cisco to make this happen. But the advice to myself from 5 years ago is to go ahead and be even bolder. So be convicted when you're trying to make a change that the industry needs, that your customers and partners need. Be bold with it. Take your crazy ideas, let people know what they are, and find the ones who will come along with you on the ride and who will help you to make those ideas even better. So I think it's really key to just have that vision and then find your stakeholders and your partners. And those partners who we enlisted early on are our biggest partners today to help make these crazy ideas successful.
I guess I would have spent much less time with proof of concepts, building libraries of use cases, doing shiny objects and putting them on stage and celebrating showcases, and reallocate the time to actually the core capabilities of the company. For us, this is underwriting, pricing, claims management, the core kind of insurance capabilities. They are all analytics by default. They are all very virtual activities, and we should have probably earlier spent more time at the core and less at the fringes, and stop after the first 100 advanced analytics use cases and not build another 250 for the database, but rather implement the first 10.
Now, I wanted to sort of get a couple of questions to each of you specifically. Now, for Susie, DevNet, that's now over 500,000 members, which has to have made your job very different. Talk about how you've built a community and then gotten that to sort of be a way that developers can help each other learn their craft together.
Yeah. So what was interesting is if we go back to when we started it, which was 5 years ago, it just involves evangelizing the idea, right? So again, being a startup, the first thing was to try to get support for the idea of, your company Cisco wants to have a software strategy, and there's many good reasons why you would do that. You want to move to a software model, the industry is going there, there's recurring revenue business models, but the real reason you want to go to software is to participate with the ecosystem. And to participate with the ecosystem, you need a developer program and a developer community. So I was just evangelizing for that, and I had to basically give 200 pitches across the company to finally get it up to the CEO, who then was like, you're right, we need to do this. But then after that, you get approval, but you just got approval. You don't have anything yet. So then the idea was to very quickly work with the community and build a website, a developer site for people to go, developer.cisco.com. Hold a developer conference at our main show. And that was like the first thing where our audience came and we said, are they ready for software? Will they actually come? Well, let's just pretend we have a developer program and let's hold a developer conference. And they came. So we got really early feedback because people attended, they found it valuable, and then we just tried more and more things together with them. So the key was like really evolving it, doing it with the community, getting feedback from them. Is this useful or is it not? If it's not useful to you, I'm not going to do it anymore. If it is useful to you, tell me why and how can I make it even more useful. And that's how we really built the program. And we actually did it with external people first, and then brought it more and more into our own business as well. And we actually started out by partnering with the sales team, because the sales team has systems engineers and sales engineers around the world who work with customers, and we had to train them to also be developer advocates so that they could have the reach, because we needed a scalable model, because I don't have enough people on my team to get that coverage. So it's really about kind of figuring out creative ways to scale out and do things efficiently, but really growing your community to satisfy their needs first.
And I have to ask, being an online community manager, has this given you any more empathy for the people who run Facebook and Reddit?
Has it given us the ability to what?
Any more empathy for those folks?
Have more empathy for them. Yeah, absolutely. I mean, it's, there's a time where you're trying to connect people, right? And it's really all about people connecting with each other. It's, it's one first thing of here's some tools, here's skills that you can get. We provide learning labs and everything there. But then it's about how the community comes together and really starts interacting, how they contribute code into what you have. So, tools like that, it's really important to grow the community. You hope more people will do good than will do bad. And so far, yes, we've definitely seen that. We're getting a lot of input back from the community, which makes it grow even more.
Good. Now, Markus, my question to you, insurance is the original big data business. If anyone had big data in their Web Summit bingo, you can cross that off. What projects are you working on to help Allianz figure out what data matters most, save your customers money, and of course, we were talking backstage about all the different and occasionally incompatible privacy requirements you have to deal with depending on what country or continent you're operating in.
So I mean, for the last 127 years, Allianz is built around data and analytics, right? Because we have no physical product. It's all about handling data and handling information, if you want. For us, the big challenge is being systematic about building a data strategy for whole Allianz Group and making the transition from owning proprietary data, we're kind of closing up and playing with the regulatory boundaries is a competitive advantage, to a world where meshing up internal and external data is equally important, and then moving analytics in the traditional way into the AI and digital space. So for that, we have actually built a data strategy, and we are rolling out a program we call Datafy Allianz. I have installed a chief data officer in my area. What helped a lot is that we got rid of our chief digital officer in time. We've always wanted this as a transitionary role, and we kind of elevated now the transition to a business transformation officer. So CTO as a title was available. So I installed a chief data officer in my area, and we're now rolling this out for all operating companies. So they will have chief data officers just taking care for that. And then, really the important paradigm shift is that we have to understand that owning data is actually worthless, right? It's all about usage. And so one of the important messages I always repeat with our business leaders is this whole data is a new oil thing is bullshit, because you don't, right? If you consume oil, it's gone, right? And so sitting on oil is actually something where you can actually speculate and you can invest. You cannot invest in owning data. That doesn't help, right? It's all about usage of data and then doing analytics on top of it. So that's the kind of mind shift that we are driving. And then we look at commoditization of some of our core capabilities, which is the new thing for us as well. We are very proud about our algorithms. Pretty much all the algorithms that made us distinctive over the last 20, 30 years are public domain now. So it's about connectivity, it's about third-party data, and about making use of it much more than being smarter about some algorithms.
Now, another way it strikes me that this business has changed is, I mean, here we are talking about the entire subject of technology and safety and security on a stage. How much of your time do you now find yourself being the face of the company on these issues in terms of technology trends, what we're doing to make things better?
I would say I spent most of my time internally within Allianz. About 50% of my time I deliberately and systematically allocate with our business leaders. So this is being present at the decision meetings, spending individual one-on-one time with the business leaders, spending a lot of time educating the board, running an IT literacy seminar for top executives where we have CEOs of our operating companies and of the holding board members included. So I spent a lot of time with the business, and then of course with all the real life projects that we do with the business. I spent another maybe 30% with our IT community across the group, a smaller part with my own team, and maybe 5% externally. So the face of the company for me is much more internally towards business leaders.
Yeah, I would say that my role is very external, so as well as internal, since we're moving the company internally. But maybe I would say it was like a third, and a third. So a third of the time, externally representing what we need to do, but also trying to understand what the interest and the needs are from the industry as well. Another third of our time, specifically with our customers and partners to understand what their needs are, how we can help them, and things there. And then a third of the time, with my team and with our internal stakeholders as we're working our operations, working with our business teams as they're, giving them API guidance on their products and the roadmaps. And so really moving things internally as well. But it's really important to keep that conversation going. And it is a lot of time to interact, but to get good information.
I want to revisit the sort of inside the company conversation. You both work for large corporations. How do you make sure it's easy for somebody who's further down the org chart, if they have a concern, if they saw something and they want to say something, or they think of a way to do something faster, more efficiently, that you can get that good insight and put it into practice?
A very good question. I mean, what I try to do is, I spent quite some time in consulting, and there one of our core values was obligation to dissent. That is something I try to inject into Allianz, so that's what I'm preaching with my own team, and I celebrate this quite a bit. So whoever stands up is actually celebrated, and I communicate very, very often, and I'm very vocal about this. I try to just ignore the hierarchy and talk to the subject matter experts. Within my team, that is easy, because in the technology community, that is, I think, straightforward. For the rest of the organization, that creates some irritation sometimes, but I still keep going, and I try to lead a bit by role modeling this type of behavior I like to see.
Yeah. For myself, I am always trying to make myself accessible, and I value inputs from the youngest members of the organization as well as the oldest. So I try to hold weekly meetings, even with large teams, with everybody in them, so that everybody can speak. And really, then I use those ideas to form what we need. I mean, I was really excited over here to meet people from other parts of the company around the world who just walked up and gave inputs. And some people are saying, "Can you please ask the board this? Can you please tell the executives to do that?" But that's gold, right? Because that's where you're really seeing what people care about and need. And I love being their conduit to help getting, the things that I can get done from where I am.
Well, I see we've got a few questions from Slido here. There's one, I half wonder if Alexis Ohanian didn't submit this. Do you use Hacker News, Reddit, or other similar services to stay up to date with all that's going on in the tech world?
Absolutely. So those are all really key. And it's great to, literally use those types of tools to see what are the top issues, what are the top technology issues, what can we do, and everything there, without doubt.
And you?
Same. Absolutely.
Yeah, and I saw that there were some questions about CTO roles and growing into them. Is that something?
Yeah, we have, let's see, from developer to CTO, how was your journey? If you didn't start as a developer, you could ignore that.
I mean, I could jump in quickly, which is I never expected to become a CTO. I never would have dreamed that, when I was starting out. But I think some of the keys are that, like, when you start as an individual contributor, you're doing your technology, you're proud of your technology, you're proud of your software. But as you want to grow to other levels, you actually have to let go of some of that. Because if you're spending all your time coding, what's more important is also how you are out evangelizing, bringing other people along and making them be successful. So it's really about figuring out some things to do a little bit less of, but you still need to have your technology expertise, but then impacting a broader set of people around you. So that's a shift you have to make.
Yeah. Well, I never was a good developer. I learned developing as a scientist. I'm a theoretical physicist by training. So all my developers would look down on the way we were developing as kind of dirty and kind of not appropriate for a business context. So I basically did a detour through driving innovation, building practices, doing innovation with clients as a consultant, and then kind of growing up in this role. So I'm not a good developer.
Very well. Well, we had 18 minutes to get through a day in the life. We didn't actually get around to talking about what you have for dinner, but that's the time they gave us. Thank you very much. Thank you all.
Thank you.